Today, everything just changed. Dan Bongino, a man who gave up millions to serve this country under President Trump, may have just been set up by the very system that he vowed to help fix. A top-level FBI leak has just dropped, and what it reveals about this now infamous Bondi Epstein memo is going to absolutely infuriate you. Now, you thought that this was just a little bit of a political infighting, right? No, guys. This was a trap that nearly destroyed one of the MAGA movement's most loyal warriors, all while Bondi just stood beside the president, and the memo that nuked public trust is quietly pinned on Bongino. Now, here's the real kicker, guys. Sources say Bongino never even saw the final memo before it went public. He was handed a grenade, told it was a flashlight, and then blamed when it exploded. But here's where it gets even more twisted. So while Bondi claimed on national television she had the Epstein client list and tapes, the official memo under her name denied everything. So now the MAGA base is livid. You got folks like Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, Charlie Kirk. They're all calling it what it looks like: a cover-up, a setup, a civil war inside the administration. Do you agree? I mean, so the real question now is, did Trump get played? Or is there a strategic reason why he's still protecting Bondi? Well, I'm going to go ahead and break it all down for you guys, from the White House blow up between Bongino and Bondi, to the memo's timeline, to the FBI leak that proves Bongino was thrown under the bus. And yes, I'm going to expose why 20 DOJ officials were just quietly fired, and what this tells us about who's trying to kill this story from the inside. Now, rock with me, guys, because by the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly what went wrong, who got caught lying, and why MAGA is rising up against its own. So, yeah. Oh, if you appreciate the news updates, hit the like button and subscribe. I really appreciate you, every one of you guys, all of our old school subscribers and our newcomers. All right. Just days ago, the Justice Department, under Attorney General Pam Bondi, released the memo that was supposed to be putting the Epstein controversy to rest. Instead, it lit the fuse. The memo claimed two things. One, Jeffrey Epstein's death was a suicide. And two, there is no client list. None. Now, I want you to pause right there for a second, because this directly contradicts what Pam Bondi herself said on national television. I know you guys remember that. She told the public she had the client list on her desk. She claimed she had access to thousands of Epstein tapes. And then, just like that, all of a sudden, on her own department drops a memo saying that there's nothing to see here. Are you kidding me? Anybody else buying that? So the backlash was instant. And it wasn't from the left, actually. It was from the MAGA nation, okay? From people who actually voted for this administration. They felt blindsided, betrayed, and deceived. Does anybody feel the same way here? And so this actually brings us to the next point, the setup, because guess whose name was quietly tied to the memo's approval? Dan Bongino. So behind closed doors, Bongino exploded, not just because of the content of the memo, but because of how it was handled. Now, multiple sources are saying Bongino technically approved it, but now he's doing everything he can to distance himself. Why? Because a top FBI leak just confirmed to trusted insiders says Bongino never saw the full memo before it was released. He was shown a sanitized version, a summary, a decoy. And so here's where the trap gets real, guys. According to the source, the timing of the memo's release right before a weekend news cycle, while Bongino was off grid. This was no accident. It was engineered to drop without his pushback, so that when the backlash hit, Dan would take the fall. Do you see what's happening here? He was handed a grenade and told it was a flashlight. Now think about this, guys. Bongino left a multi-million-dollar podcast career to serve Trump and the country. And now it looks like somebody inside the system used that loyalty against him. Now, the only question now is why, right? And this is exactly where I'm going to be heading next, because the White House clash that followed this, it wasn't just a disagreement. This was clearly an ultimatum. Now, Nancy reached out and she said, "Chapter just saved me $600 a year. I'm 78 years old and my rent just went up to $1,510 a month. This savings may let me stay in my home. Now, guys, I don't know about you, but that one hit me because it's not just about money. This is about security. It's about peace of mind, dignity. And this is why I chose to partner with Chapter. They're not just helping people with Medicare. They're helping people keep their footing. And I love that. So if you're on Medicare, if your parents are on Medicare, give our friends at Chapter a call right now. See how much money you can save with our friends at Chapter. Phone numbers down below, 909-563-8279. Or better yet, hit them up on the website at askchapter.org/Ron. Even if you think your plan is fine, let them double check it for you. This could change everything. So what happened next was not a rumor. It wasn't speculation. It was a full-on blow up inside the White House between Dan Bongino and Attorney General Pam Bondi. Now, sources very close to the matter are saying that the confrontation happened on Wednesday behind closed doors, and it wasn't polite. Bongino, furious over the Epstein memo backlash, allegedly gave a personal ultimatum to President Trump, her or me. Let that sink in, guys. This wasn't just about policy disagreements. This was about trust, betrayal, and public credibility. Everything that fuels or destroys a movement like MAGA. Now, here's where it gets even more intense, okay? Bongino, MAGA to his core, didn't show up for work the next day. Now, some people thought he had resigned. Some people thought he quit. But what did the White House do? Instead of firing Bondi or publicly rebuking her, President Trump doubled down, and in a move that sent shockwaves throughout the entire base, he invited Bondi to sit right next to him at the FIFA game, front and center. Now, to the public, it looks like Bondi had Trump's full backing, while Bongino was on the outside looking in. So now you got to ask yourself, did Trump know the truth? Or was he protecting unity while letting the internal war burn quietly beneath the surface? And so this is the question right here. Is what lit a fire... The question here is what lit a fire under MAGA's most powerful voices, how President Trump handled this? Does that make sense to you? Because when you start ignoring the base, when grassroots patriots see their warriors falling without explanation, you trigger a revolt, right? You trigger a revolt. And that brings us to the next part here. Now, I want to keep this real quick. Do not trust the headlines, okay? And many of you don't. Neither do I. But this is exactly why I created the breaking news newsletter, okay? It exists. It's totally free. I left a pinned comment for you guys to be able to join. Click that, join it, so you're always in the loop without the media spin. Now, check this out. Megyn Kelly, Tucker Carlson, Steve Bannon, Charlie Kirk. You may have heard of some of those guys, right? Well, they didn't stay silent. They saw the Bondi Memo. They saw Bongino getting blamed, and they called it out loud and clear. And big ups to every one of those individuals who spoke out on his behalf. Now, at the Turning Point USA conference, Megyn Kelly, she took the stage and she asked the 7,000 strong crowd a very simple question. Who would you rather keep, Dan Bongino or Pam Bondi? And the response, 7,000 voices unanimously said Dan. Not even close. Now, I want to ask my audience right here today. Let me know in the comments. Who should stay? Who should President Trump keep? Dan Bongino or Pam Bondi? Y'all let me know here. I'm going to look in the comments and see what you guys are saying. So Bongino then said, understood the movement. He was in the trenches. Okay. He had skin in the game. All right. Bondi, she was seen as like a polished insider who talked the talk, but never really walked the MAGA walk. Now, I want to rewind just a little bit because I don't know if you guys remember, Pam Bondi was never Trump's first pick. I'm just saying. Does anybody remember who Trump's first pick was for Attorney General? Okay. I'm just saying. Anyway, so then Tucker Carlson dropped the hammer. He said Dan Bongino was shafted, that he was sacrificed, that he had sacrificed everything to serve, only to get caught up in the crossfire of a sloppy, untruthful, and politically suicidal memo. He said he can't go back to his podcast now, Tucker said, because the audience doesn't trust truth anymore. all because of somebody else's lies. And so now the crowd is restless, okay? The influencers are outraged, and the pressure on the White House is boiling over. So the question becomes, if MAGA's loudest voices are screaming for answers, who's really running the show here? Is Trump in control, or is the deep state still calling the shots from the inside? Now, believe me, guys, I am not done. Just days after the Epstein memo triggered a full-blown MAGA revolt, Pam Bondi made her move. It was on a Friday. She fired 20 employees from the Justice Department, not just some random staffers. These were people with direct ties to former special counsel Jack Smith. This is the same Jack Smith who tried to prosecute Donald Trump in 2 failed federal investigations during the Biden years. Now, on the surface, that looks like a swamp draining victory, right? Looks like one, a clean house, like a clean house kind of moment. But here's the problem here, guys. Why did she do that now? Why? Right after the memo disaster? Why after Dan Bongino nearly walked? Why after Trump supporters demanded Bondi why after President Trump supporters demanded Bondi's resignation? To a lot of insiders, this is what it looks like. It looks less like strategy and more like damage control, right? Now, according to the same FBI source who leaked details about Bongino setup, there is a much darker theory that's circulating right now. Bondi's media blunders, the false claims about the tapes and the client list, they weren't just mistakes. These were deliberate distractions. Now, I want to ask you guys, do you think we would have been better off with Pete Hegseth? Let me know, guys. So while the public was watching Bondi's Fox News appearances, the real disclosures, the real Epstein violence was being buried, it was being delayed or even redirected. In other words, they used her chaos to cover up their control. And that leads us all the way back to the million-dollar question. Is the deep state embedded inside of this administration? Because if Bondi, who now looks like both the face of the memo and the shield for the swamp, still has Trump's support, then the base is being forced to wrestle with a terrifying possibility. Is Trump being misled, or is he playing a deeper game than any of us realize? Which brings us to that very next question. And I want to be absolutely clear here. President Trump has not backed down from defending either of them. He praised Bongino publicly, calling him terrific, said he's in good shape, and emphasized that he's staying in his role. But at the same time, he stood by Bondi, telling MAGA online to stop attacking her, saying we're one team. He even went so far as to invite her to sit next to him at a global event at the FIFA game. So it's not accidental. This is a signal. So what exactly does this mean, right? Some say Trump is being misinformed. Others are saying that Trump is protecting unity in public while working on fixing things in private. But here's what I do believe. This is a president who knows he's surrounded and is picking his battles strategically. He's not going to let petty infighting fracture the entire movement. That would be silly. He's smarter than that. But he's also not going to let traitors stay hidden forever. So the internal investigation into Epstein, I'll just go ahead and tell you now, it is not dead. In fact, according to new reports, it is just beginning again, which brings us to the almost most important part of this confirmation yet. According to a top-level FBI source who broke under condition of anonymity, basically, a trusted insider, the truth is now undeniable. Dan Bongino was set up. It's been confirmed, not figuratively, not politically, but deliberately and surgically he's been set up. So here's what the leak does confirm. Dan Bongino did not write or oversee the final Epstein memo. I want to go ahead and clear the air, okay? He was presented with a condensed, filtered version that excluded critical claims and omissions like the denial of the client list and the lack of prosecutorial recommendations. 2, the memo was timed for maximum fallout. While Bongino was off the grid and unable to respond, it was released late in the week, triggering a news cycle storm that basically made him take the brunt of, all right, despite of not being its architect. The third thing is Bondi's public statements claiming that she had the list, she had the tapes, shocking material. She told us all of, none of this was backed up by the memo that her own department had issued. So in short, she overpromised, which Trump told her not to do. Bongino, he ended up paying the price. And so now the same source says that there is internal momentum to appoint a special counsel to reinvestigate the Epstein files. Why? Because the memo process has been tainted. And there's way too many inside the administration who now believe that key players may have manipulated the system to protect someone. And so here's the real kicker. The only reason this new push is happening is because you spoke out. The MAGA base, the turning point crowd, the influencers, the comment sections, the voices on X, Rumble, YouTube, Truth Social, all of you guys. So when you said that it smelled like a setup, when you demanded accountability, they couldn't ignore you. The White House may say it out loud, but the message was received, okay? This is not about Epstein. This is about power. This is about truth. And it's about who pays the price when the system wants a scapegoat. And so this really kind of brings us all to the final and most important question of all. Was Dan Bongino betrayed by the very people that he was trying to help? Is Pam Bondi just sloppy and reckless with her words? Or was this memo rollout a deliberate diversion to protect bigger names on that list? And if the loudest names in the MAGA movement, Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, Steve Bannon, Charlie Kirk, are warning us that something's off, do you still trust that Trump's team has your back? Let me know, guys. But let me also be clear. President Trump is still the smartest, most strategic leader that we've had in our lifetime. But even the strongest presidents need the truth. And they need to know when somebody close to them has gone rogue. Okay, so this story is not over, guys. The real Epstein files have not been unsealed, and when they are, we're gonna know exactly who is protecting them. Okay, we're gonna know exactly who is protecting who. Now, before you go, YouTube thinks you're going to love the video that's popping up on your screen right now. Click on it, because if you think this was explosive, wait until you see the next. It's gonna blow it right open.